Hey everybody, my name is Joey Zero, and today we're going to be continuing our series on Acegames Academy about racial WoW lore. Basically everything you need to know about any given race to kind of understand where that race fits in with the rest of the game. We had a request to do the Dwarves next, so we're just going to go ahead and get right to it here. Once again, after you watch the video, if you're not that familiar with the game, I suggest you go back and rewatch the intro for the race, which we're about to play here in just a second, and just kind of see if it makes a little more sense, if maybe you've gotten a little bit better of a sense of context. That's really the whole goal of this series. So I guess let's just go ahead and get right into it here.
Change has come to the enduring halls of Ironforge. Obsessed with the workings of the Titans, the Dwarves retrieved their creator's mystical tablets from the fabled city of Ulduar. Activating one such tablet, King Magni Bronzebeard fell prey to a terrible curse that fused his statue-like form into the diamond heart of Ironforge itself. To compound this tragedy, Magni's estranged daughter Moira arrived, claiming her father's throne for herself and for her infant, dark iron son. To avert civil war, the Dwarves created the Council of Three Hammers, an uneasy coalition that would share power equally amongst the clans. Now, with political upheaval rising within the kingdom, and the great cataclysm ravaging the surrounding lands, the future of Ironforge falls to brave dwarves like you.
Now, before we can really get into the history of the Dwarves a whole lot, we really just kind of need to take a step back to the very beginning. In the beginning, there were these creatures. They were very, very powerful, and they were known as the Titans. They just kind of roamed the universe looking to create order out of the chaos. Now, one of the planets that they stopped to work on was, as you probably could have guessed, Azeroth. In order to do so, they had to fight back these creatures known as the Old Gods, these evil, malicious beings that they'll come into the story a little bit later. Now, when they were shaping kind of the face of Azeroth, they were separating the seas from the mountains and all that jazz. As you can imagine, this was a pretty great deal of work. They were basically reshaping the whole face of Azeroth. So to help them, the Titans created pretty much a whole host of creatures, one of which was the Earthen. They're basically these little workers that were made out of living stone. This isn't the original design, but this is kind of the one that they settled with after some drama with the Old Gods. Now, they made these guys out of stone. They made them purely to carve out the subterranean crevices and just basically create the subterranean world beneath Azeroth. Now, since the Titans created them to work on the ground and the earth and the subterranean, they instilled the Earthen with a very strong connection, a very strong sense of what's going on in the world. Which is why when the Sundering happened, the Well of Eternity imploded and the continents were ripped apart. That was a really traumatic experience for the planet, and therefore it was a really traumatic experience for the Earthen. Now, feeling this great pain, all they could really do is just seal themselves off and go to sleep for several thousand years. And this is when the Old Gods did their work. In order to get them into a state that they were more manageable, that they were a little more easily affected by the taint of the Old Gods, they afflicted what's called the Curse of Flesh, where basically they just turned them from stone into flesh. And that's when the Earthen turned into the dwarves that we're familiar with today. Now, I think it's best that I probably quote directly from the text in the game here, but this is an excerpt from a book in World of Warcraft that's written about the dwarves. Here it goes. Calling themselves the dwarves, the last of the Earthen left the halls of Uldaman and ventured into the waking world. Still lulled by the safety and wonders of the deep places, they found a vast kingdom under the highest mountain in the land. They named their land Kaz-Modan, or the Mountain of Kaz, in honor of the Titan shaper Khaz'goroth. Constructing an altar for their Titan father, the dwarves crafted a mighty forge within the heart of the mountain. Thus, the city that grew around the forge would be called Ironforge ever after. Now, I think I should go ahead and point out here that there are a couple of different races of dwarves within the Dwarven race, but the only ones that we're concerned with right now are what are known as the Ironforge dwarves. Over time, these Ironforge dwarves were split up into 3 smaller clans. They went from just being the Ironforge clan to being the Bronzebeard clan, Wildhammer clan, and the Dark Iron clan. And they all ruled kind of various regions of Khaz-Modan, which if you're not really familiar with it, this is kind of the area that Khaz-Modan is located. This is kind of the whole Dwarven kingdom right here. So these 3 clans kind of came about from the one, and they were all ruled by one king until that one king died. That king was known as Motimus Anvilmar, and there's actually kind of a small outpost just outside of Ironforge known as Anvilmar. That's where it got its name. Once Anvilmar died, the 3 clans started fighting amongst themselves. They all just kind of started vying for territory. One attacked the other. Actually, the Dark Irons attacked both the Bronzebeard and the Wildhammer clans separately to keep them from grouping up against them. And I mean, it worked for a while, and then it's all kind of complicated. This clan attacked that clan, this king slew that queen. It's not really all that important as far as just kind of the beginner lore goes. But eventually, the Wildhammer dwarves settled a lot more towards the hinterlands. The Bronzebeard dwarves pretty much stayed around Ironforge, and the Dark Iron dwarves moved down to around the Red Ridge Mountains, right around this area here. Now, that whole kind of series of conflicts there between the 3 clans has come to be known as the War of 3 Hammers. Not long after that, the dwarves were able to forge an alliance with the humans and the elves. This is kind of where the alliance came from, and eventually they met up with the gnomes, who they pretty much hit it off with right away, and to some, those have actually kind of come to be known as one faction, the dwarves and the gnomes together, because they've been so close ever since they met. In fact, when the gnomes' homeland was invaded by trogs, it was the dwarves that put them up. It was the dwarves that kind of accepted and took care of all the refugees. Now, if we're looking at this in terms of playable storyline, this is around what time things start to get interesting. The dwarves didn't show up in Warcraft 1 at all, pretty much. They made their grand entrance in Warcraft 2.
The onslaught. While Dwarven cannon were being loaded, others armed themselves with elven steel and mail.
They also played a part in Warcraft 3. In fact, one of the prominent characters right near the beginning, Uther, was a dwarf paladin.
Welcome, Prince Arthas. The men and I are honored by your presence.
Can the formalities, Uther. I'm not king yet. It's good to see you.
Here in somewhat recent years, the dwarves have uncovered some ruins that kind of hinted at their heritage, that the fact that they come from the Earthen, they were made by the Titans, stuff like that. And ever since this discovery, the dwarves have been crazy about finding more information out. They started what's called the Explorers League to foster these discoveries and basically help find more stuff that the Titans hid around the world. Now, some of these discoveries actually led to the dwarf racial ability in WoW, Stone Form, which basically allows them to kind of revert back to their earthen form for a little bit, and they turn themselves back into stone, helping to get rid of poisons, stuff like that. Now, some of the most recent events are basically, you remember how I said that they were really deeply connected with the Earth? Well, the Earth was pretty much broken with Cataclysm, so the dwarves really felt that, and kind of in an attempt to gain a little bit more understanding, their king, King Magni, underwent this really old-school ritual that kind of provided them with a little more understanding, but it also turned him into a diamond and fused him with the depths of Ironforge. And with their king gone, this kind of created a power vacuum, and to settle this, the 3 clans, they basically kind of joined together and started what's called the Council of 3 Hammers. So now just about everybody is included in the Ironforge clan once again. This includes the Wildhammer dwarves, who after the War of 3 Hammers became a little more shamanistic and a little more connected with nature. The Dark Iron dwarves, who, as you can guess, were a little bit darker and a little, their ways of life are a little more sinister, I guess you could say. And then the original Bronzebeard, who pretty much ruled over Ironforge from the beginning. So, what are some key points to take away from this? The dwarves are crazy about excavating and archaeology, stuff like that. So if you play a dwarf and you're leveling your archaeology, that's probably a pretty good fit. Also, the dwarves probably have a pretty heavy distaste of blood elves because the Explorers League is constantly fighting with the blood elf reliquary, which is basically the same thing but the horde equivalent. The dwarves and the gnomes absolutely love each other. They both share a love of engineering and tinkering and messing with stuff. And usually if you see heavy artillery on the Alliance side, it's usually created by that kind of dwarven gnomish combo. This also kind of explains why the dwarves have a racial affinity for guns. A lot of it has to do with that, with the fact that they love the technologies. The dwarves are really, really rugged because, I mean, let's face it, originally they were made out of stone, and they were built for the sole purpose of, like, mining and shaping the earth. So they're a really rugged race. And as such, they love being underground. They feel safe in deep places, I guess you could say. And finally, with the creation of the Council of Three Hammers, it's pretty standard to see dwarves from all three of those original clans. Basically, they all fit under the umbrella of the playable dwarves now. So I guess that's about it. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them in later videos. And once again, my name is Joey0, and if you haven't already, feel free to check out my channel or check out more of the awesome videos at Acegames Academy.